Hello, this is Photography Gamer. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm previewing Valheim for Microsoft Windows via Steam. The game is currently in early access. Valheim is a survival game developed by Iron Gate Studio. Valheim is set in a Viking afterlife where you have to survive, build, and explore a large open world. The game can be played solo, offline, or online with up to 9 players in PvP or PvE. So what is the game like to play? Firstly, you can create your own Viking, but the character creator is absolutely appalling. It's even worse than the one in Ark, and you can only change your gender, skin color, hairstyle, and color of your hair. Gameplay starts with you being dropped into Valheim by a large bird, and that bird is like your guide through the early stages, giving you tips and pointers on how the game works and how to get started. But you'll start out mainly running around in your underpants, punching trees to get wood, collecting stones, and crafting basic tools like hammers to help you build, axes to chop down trees, and basic clothing and weaponry. It does take a while to get going, and in the first few hours you're going to die many times, but thankfully you can find your corpse to reclaim your gathered resources. One thing I noticed was it's a pretty simple and streamlined take on the survival genre. It avoids overly stuffy menus or prolonged periods of dullness, but the carry capacity and your inventory size is a little bit of an issue. In a way, it feels like an arcade take on the survival genre, trying to make the general gameplay more palatable for the mainstream audience. One thing that helps this is the leveling up system. In Valheim, every time you complete an action, whether that be punching a tree, jumping, sneaking, or whatever, you accumulate progression in that activity. Do it enough and your skills will increase, which is a godsend for builders, as if you keep chopping down trees, every additional one will make the speed at which you can gather resources increase over time. Crafting is relatively simple also and can be accessed via the menu, but if you want to craft special items you will need a workbench. Here you can make all sorts of items and even repair damaged tools and weapons. But it is a little bit annoying because if you haven't got a roof over your head, you can't use the workbench because tables don't work without roofs in Valheim. So you've got some clothes, made some tools, build a fire, and you've got a workbench. What then? Well, this is where the building system comes in. You use your hammer to access the building menu and you're given lots of options straight out of the gate. So instead of several hours grinding to unlock schematics or blueprints, you get straight into the nitty-gritty of building your first home. You can use a hoe to flatten the environment, raise ground, or create a nice path across the map to guide you back to your house. I do love a building game, and the system in Valheim is very easy to use and it avoids any massive technical issues. And building is more relevant here than in other survival games, as your base will get attacked periodically by all manner of creatures and enemies. If you're not prepared or fortified, you will be in for a shocking revelation when your newly designed home ends up getting completely trashed. So build those defensive walls and batten down the hatches because they are coming. In terms of combat, Valheim goes for a more arcade style approach. You have one or two-handed weapons, shields and bows available. But I can't say the combat is riveting. It's incredibly simple and probably a style choice to make it more accessible. A bit more complexity would have been nice, but it does the job in a functional way. Okay, finally on gameplay, let's discuss the game world. The map is broken down into various regions or biomes as they're called, ranging from peaceful meadows, harsh frozen mountains, or a deadly black forest. Each region has new enemies and bosses to fight, and you'll also run into enemy nests that spawn foes, as well as caves with trolls, who you really do not want to mess with in the early game. The map is full of sweeping vistas, rolling hills, and large masses of water. There are derelict buildings you can destroy or fix up if you're into renovating structures. You'll find treasure chests, but on your travels don't forget to wrap up warm and eat some cooked food or you won't last very long at all. You can tame wolves, and thankfully there is also an option to build your own boats for long distance travel when you need to cross the water and further explore Valheim. Graphically, Valheim is a little bit of a mixed bag. On the one hand, the game world is nice and colourful and the building parts look very good when put together. On the other hand, the animation is pretty shocking, as are the character models. The menu interface is clean and crisp and easy to navigate. But again, the game does suffer from some glitching, getting stuck on the environment mesh and other technical graphical issues. The in-game music is pleasant, sound effects are functional, but for me the ambient sounds were the best part of the audio. Okay, what's good and what's bad? What's good? It's easy to get into, with an unfussy style, the building system is simple and easy to use, and it's a game tailored for builders. Resource gathering seems quite swift compared to other games. The ambient sound work is good. The game world is vast and full of interesting features, and crafting is easy to follow. What's bad? The combat is pretty basic. The character creator is awful. The animation and collision detection needs a lot of work. The technical performance is a bit suspect, and I suffered several crashes over the course of 1 week of play. Okay, so what's the verdict? Valheim is easy to get into with a simple control system, arcade style combat and building and crafting options that are very user friendly. The game world is vast and interesting to explore, the leveling up is intuitive and tied to your actions, and overall it's a pretty enjoyable experience. Also, the fact that enemies attack your base periodically makes base building have a legitimate purpose. It feels like a game where the developers have learnt lessons from other games in the genre. It's got simple and effective building like Conan Exiles. It includes a horde that attack your base like 7 Days to Die, and the game world is vast and interesting like Ark. But it does still feel a long way off being finished and is pretty rough around the edges. The mainstream games media have really given Valheim a lot of positive press, which I'm always a little bit dubious of, so it was a game I was genuinely quite curious to play for myself. I think bearing in mind survival fans haven't really had anything to shout about over the last year or two, any half decent game was always going to get heaped with praise, and I think that's what's happened with Valheim. Valheim is good, but I wouldn't say it's great, yet, or in the league of say The Forest or Ark Survival Evolved. But with some hard work, fine tuning and maybe a year of additional work on key features, graphical improvements and some other bits and pieces, Valheim could be a contender for the throne. But right now it's just a decent new survival IP that's well worth a look if you're into the genre. If you're not, then I doubt this one is going to win you over though. I'll do a full review for the game when it leaves early access, but that may be some time, so for now I'd say it's definitely worth a look but still needs plenty of work. So no scoring, but based on it's probably somewhere between 7.5 and 8.5 if it continues this kind of development. But because it's early access, it's kind of unfair to give it a scoring because it's still a work in progress. Okay, that was my preview for Valheim. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. This is Photography Gamer signing off. Thank you.